Welcome to the Champion Blueprint Podcast, where mindset meets mission.
We're diving into what it really takes to lead, win, and live with purpose.
From NFL locker rooms to boardrooms, it's all about discipline, core values, and the habits that build champions.
Whether you're leveling up in business, life, or leadership, this is your playbook.
Champion your mindset.
Champion your purpose.
Let's go.
And we're back. Back again. What's going on? George Rogers here. Thank you all for joining us here on Champion Blueprint Podcast. As always, to my left, the man, the myth, the legend, the champ himself, Gary Brackett.
Go.
How we doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing great, man. Excited. You know, this time of year is always exciting. Watching people perform at their best.
Yeah, it's March, and March Madness has already begun. The tournament is not started yet, but we're seeing a lot of madness happening within the college, their own conference tournaments. Yeah, I went blank for a second. I was like, oh man, what's going on? But this season is really exciting for March. You got a lot going on. You got football stuff going on. You got baseball, spring stuff. You got March Madness. College basketball's coming to an end.
NBA playoffs.
NBA playoff is starting. This is the switch month for a lot of things. NBA, they're turning up the switch. We saw Bam a couple of weeks ago just go crazy. Yeah. I don't know, what was going on there. But congrats to Bam. Shout out to him. Shout out to his number one training coach, Aja Wilson, his girl.
Absolutely.
Give him some tips and everything. But in this month, Gary, what I love about March Madness, particularly, I wanted to have this conversation is because it's beyond, for me, it's beyond bracket busters. It's beyond the breakthroughs of a lot of, you see some dogs kind of develop. They get in the light. A lot of teams that don't have the spotlight, they don't get on ESPN or ABC throughout the year. This is their time to really shine. You see a lot of underdogs come up and make some noise. And so it's fun for me to watch because, one, I'm one of the million plus people. I don't know if you do any brackets. Yeah. Back, 10 years ago, I had 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 brackets because one of them's going to be at least 80% right? Yeah. But you got a million people that fills these brackets out. You have expert analysts that are evaluating and who's going to win and why this is going to win and what the triggers are based on the history of the bracket. You got people in their basement studying these things, fake screens on their TV screens and monitors, all believing that they know exactly what's going to happen. And all of a sudden, you have the unexpected happen. You have that last second shot that always falls every week. It seems like sometimes every day, where it's consecutive days in a row where somebody wins that wasn't supposed to win. And all of a sudden, all those beautiful brackets are no more. And that's really life. That's really the life of a leader. That's really a life of an entrepreneur. That's really a life of an employee, is where you think you have a plan and all of a sudden a last minute situation pops up that totally changes the atmosphere. You didn't expect to get the promotion that you weren't even looking for, and all of a sudden you have a decision to make this tough, and the opportunity is there. And I always say, when opportunity is there, it's too late to prepare. Yeah, like, you got to be ready. Absolutely. And sometimes the unexpected happens, and that's, to me, the beauty of March Madness is the unexpected and what happens when you're facing that next challenge and that next opportunity.
I always love it from an underdog perspective of, some guys have been playing well all year, but some guys just come out from anywhere. Yeah. And the reality of the situation is they always had that talent. Yep. They just needed a chance. Yeah. And I think inside of our companies, inside of our organizations, there's people like that that have the talent to take you to that next level, to create some upsets. You just got to find them, give them the opportunity, and then support them, as they go about their work.
Yep. It's that thing, life doesn't always follow the script. Yeah. I want to share just a couple of stories that kind of, and we're just going to apply them to life, business, and whatever ship, as we always say, to that. But I remember the biggest story for me in March Madness is that every year, on every bracket. Now, some people will have a what they call an upset, bracket, where they pick an upset. Yeah. But I remember when the first number one seed ever lost, right? It was very, very unexpected. And it wasn't for me what happened. The win was unexpected, but it was how they won.
And you talk about they lost in the first round.
We're talking about UMBC when they shocked the world, shocked Virginia. Yeah. Virginia wasn't just like the fourth one seed. They were the overall number one seed. In this game, Gary, it wasn't just like a a last second shot, or they shut them down in the final minutes. They won by 20 points, right? And so the game was really portrayed. The game was the game. They came out very dominant. And this history that was made, I believe, in 2018 really changed the next 5-6 years, because from there we saw more 1 seeds suddenly
get knocked
fall.
Off.
And for me, it triggers something. Is that all it takes is one person, one team, one company, one employee to do something that was never done before, that gives the confidence to others that this is possible, right? It's when I worked down in Nashville, Springfield, Tennessee, I was working with a good friend of mine, Ron McDaniel, and his theme for our team huddles, his theme just in purpose of life is nothing shall be impossible. So after every meeting, start of a meeting, the team huddle or the whole company will huddle together every Thursday for 15, 20 minutes. At the end of all that stuff, we all shouted out on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, nothing shall be impossible.
Wow.
And it wasn't just something that we said, it's something that we believe. And that changed the dynamic of March Madness. Is like, what happens when the illusion is gone?
I think it's a little bit of 4 Minute Mile, right? Where until the 4 Minute Mile was ran, no one thought it was possible. And until someone upset a number 1 seed, all the other seeds, they're just going into the game just thinking like, we're just here, just to be a road stop or a bump for that number 1 seed. And once it's done before, it gets everyone's confidence. And the other thing I always think about is, in the good book, David and Goliath. And, some of these people are underdogs, and your company may be small, facing a big thing. But in Malcolm Gladwell's book, David and Goliath, it talked about the disadvantages of Goliath. Because how big he was, like he couldn't move, right? And because of like how big he was, it was thought that his eyesight wasn't there. Right. So he had blind spots. And I think that's what it is a lot of times when you're an underdog going against one of these Goliaths that, you got some advantages there. If you can work those advantages, you got a shot. Like you said, nothing is impossible.
Yeah, it's beyond the belief that you can upset. It's really about, for me, the preparation, right? Going through that process and really what it takes to get to that place, ultimately to be who you want to be. And so for me, like even in work, is how do we prepare our people?
Yeah.
How are we developing our people? How are we acknowledging our people? How are we preparing them to give them that belief? Because some people have the potential and they don't realize it. It's like they don't know what's like everything they need is in the house. Like everything you need is all here. It's that confidence that I believe in you, that you matter, that you are valuable, that you belong at this table, right? And so having that belief for me is something that I believe that we should all strive for, and really have that confidence to say it's possible. Like you can do this, right?
Yeah, it's funny you say that belief. I remember my first game starting. It was the Indianapolis Colts versus the Baltimore Ravens, 2005. It was Sunday Night Football in Baltimore.
You didn't even get a 1 o'clock game to start.
Not at 1 o'clock. I mean, this is prime time, baby.
Yeah.
This is Baltimore Ravens when they had Deion Sanders, Rod Woods. I think 14, 15 people ran out the huddle, right? Ray did his little song and dance. I'm not gonna lie, I had like a little glory one-eyed tear in my eye. I was so hyped for that game, right? But before the game, I'm super nervous, right? I'm like, damn, can I really do this? Can I play at this level? We're going against the number 1 seed. Not that I'm facing Ray Lewis. I'm on defense. He's on defense.
But it's linebacker on linebacker. We know how that is.
You know how it is. So David Thornton comes up to me and he sees that I'm nervous and he grabs me square on my shoulders, looks me dead in my eyes. He said, remove all doubt. Remove all doubt. You put in the work. You belong in this moment. Go out there and execute. And man, it just gave me such a sigh of relief of just like,
I love that.
And so many times, like in our organizations for our people, that's what we need to do to them. We need to grab them by the shoulders, remove all doubt. You belong in this moment. You were meant for this. Make these decisions. I support you.
Yeah, history doesn't change because the odds change. History changes because of the belief of somebody that's inside of them. And when I say inside, like inside their mind, it's giving them that confidence that's needed, right? And so beyond the illusion, it's not about upset, it's about preparation. Number one, that's the whole point of this one. Number two is that preparation meets moment, right? a lot of people call it the Chris Jenkins championship round and championship shot. This is 2016 national championship. It came down to seconds, right? This is Villanova Wildcats versus North Carolina. Yeah. And so North Carolina hits this miracle shot. And it was, most teams would panic. It's one of those, it reminds me of, like in football, it reminds me 2-minute warning, 2 minutes left, one timeout, and you got Peyton Manning with the ball. Everybody's going to say, number one, they left too much time on the clock, right?
Absolutely.
And you go down to score, but on the other side, you got Tom Brady on the other side, and he has 45 seconds. And still, 2 timeouts, that's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happens when you have a kicker like Vinatieri? And I know he ended his career with us, and we were able to, get some good things for him. But that mindset that goes into, we've been here and we're cool in the midst of chaos where it looks like you're about to lose and there's seconds left. You still have that belief to say, listen, just do our jobs. Right. And I believe it was Tony Dungy that always used to say, if you take care of the small things, the big things is going to work themselves out and take care of themselves. And so having that belief that, listen, there's no doubt in the world that we are who we are, whether we're on offense or defense, let's just do what we do, take care of the small things, and everything's going to work out. And that upset there at the last second really just taught me about composure. When Chris, he had composure and didn't let the moment. Last night I was watching a couple of games. It wasn't last night. Last week, it was BYU, I believe, in Houston. It was a really good game. Shout out to BYU. Shout out to the Indiana Pacers. AJ, belongs next to Halliburton and Pascal. To me, his game is like a mini Pascal. Like in the 3. And to be able to envision that as a season ticket holder, going from the top 2 last year to the bottom 2 right now in the NBA, I'm okay with that donation this year.
Yeah, absolutely.
But Gary, talk a little bit about the importance and the impact, whether sports, business, and life, of having that composure when everybody else is panicking. Yeah,
I think you mentioned it's about that preparation.
Yeah.
And for me, I always talk about fall in love with the process and divorce yourself from the outcome. You do the work because that's what's required of you to even have a chance at success.
Yeah.
If you want to guarantee you don't have success, don't do the work.
Yeah.
But doing the work just puts you in position to have that. But then when that moment, that opportunity comes, you have to, for me, I'm a big visualize guy. So you have to visualize yourself in that moment making that shot.
Yeah.
Anytime when I played the game on Sunday, whatever time it was, that was the 4th, 5th time I played that game. Like all week, I've been playing that game in my head, getting those moments. And it got to a point where I convinced myself that every time they threw the ball, they're throwing it to me.
Yeah.
Right? It was my ball to catch because I wasn't going to be a defender that all of a sudden turned around, the ball was right there, and I was going to clap my hands and say, oh, man, I should have caught that. I should have been ready. No, I got to a mode where I stayed ready. And I think it's so valuable for people when they stay ready. Like, what a great example is a sales call. Sometimes you go on a sales call, you're fishing, you don't know what's going to be on, and then you catch a whale.
Yeah.
And if you're just going through the motions and
you're not
really,
the right fish bowl,
you don't have the right script, you're playing around, right? And you're going to miss out on a huge opportunity. But if you're shooting your shot and then the opportunity comes and you're like, okay, I'm ready, let's go. And I think sometimes when you talk to people, some of their biggest sales conversations happen, on an unexpected call.
When I think about going back to the story with Villanova, when North Carolina hit that shot, the composure on Villanova from the bench to the play, you can tell that they ran this play so many times.
Yeah.
Pass, shot. Like it wasn't no pressure. It was just like patience. Let's just do what we always do.
And the cold-blooded is their coach after they made the shot.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was like business as usual.
Yeah, and it was because, and again, when you prepare, proper preparation prevents poor performance, right? And so when you prepare for it, it's not a shock to you because this is what you've done. And so what other people perceive as an upset, what other people perceive as magic in the air, you're saying, no, this is preparation.
Yeah.
This is what we do we do what we do.
This is what we expected to happen.
Yeah. And so the pressure in leadership is not pressure. It's preparation.
Yeah.
It's turning that pressure. I always say that it's similar to anybody that lifts weights. In the beginning, wherever you start, it's really tough. The next 2 or 3 days, weeks, like you're using muscles that you've never used before. But if you continue to lift that same weight, eventually it's not the weight that changes, right? It's you. It's the preparation, because you continue to lift those things. What you continue to lift in life, what you continue to lift in leadership, doesn't necessarily change. It becomes easier because you prepared.
Yeah.
You built a muscle memory.
You become better.
Because you became stronger over that. Now you add some different pressure to that, right? And so turning that pressure into power is always key. And you do that with that preparation of not, taking things for granted.
Yep.
Not taking opportunities for granted, and really having what I believe are difficult conversations.
Yep.
Think about the conversations that happened in practice when they didn't do pass, shot. Right. And they just pass, or they passed and shot it, right? And they didn't fulfill that play, or somebody didn't make the proper cut. Somebody didn't turn in their assignment. Somebody didn't do their part of the project, but they still got the A. I think about Jeff Teague. I don't know if you saw the video. Pike, you came back.
Yeah.
And shout out to them. And so when Jeff Teague was with Milwaukee Bucks, they win the NBA finals and championships, and he's walking down the hall. He's like, I got an A on a project and I ain't do nothing.
Oh, yeah.
So a couple of weeks ago, one of his players, they come back and he's like, man, I got an A on the project, and I hear it, just straight following the leadership. It's that mindset and preparation, but sometimes having a voice, right? Could there have been something that was said in the locker room? Maybe you didn't get on the court, maybe you didn't get on the field, maybe you didn't get, in that video shot, but you were part of that project. Maybe you wasn't in the boardroom.
Right.
When that final decision was made, where that system, that process was going to be implemented, but you were on the front line.
Let me ask you this. So as a leader, and a lot of people fall into this category, maybe you have a team player that's not making the shots.
Yeah.
But that's working really hard. In a slump, right? Not, still showing up. Still, how do you encourage that person? Because sometimes we need that person for the entire team. But how do you encourage that person?
For me, Gary, it's two things. One, I know what you can do, and I'll just use it for you on the football field. I know what you can bring to me on the field. Mm-hmm. But as a leader and as a coach, I also want to identify what you are good for the team off the field. Right? And sometimes, for some people, it's just having, for me, when I was an employee, the one thing that mattered the most to me, even when I was in middle school, was consistency.
Yeah.
The fact that I can look in the stands and I can see that person, that man, Tim McNamee, showing up for me, right? Coming to my house, showing up. When I wasn't doing right, showing up. Being who he was consistently, right? Not disappointed. Although maybe he was disappointed, but giving me a reason why I can turn those things around, right? So finding something that is relatable on and off, right? And so if you're not a part of the project, this is still the value that you're bringing.
Yeah. I love that. I love the thing that
it's powerful.
So many things, and you coach youth sports.
Yeah.
So many things don't show up on a stat sheet, right?
I'll tell you a story because it fall and winter league. I coached 6th grade travel basketball with Hoops Dreams on the South Side, and some of these kids, and including my own kid. He's a 5th grader, but he's playing up. Not the greatest, right? Yep. But he's good here, and he's good here. And so he brings something different to the bench that no other kid does. Yeah. Right? Encouraging, motivation, inspiring the other people. Believe, don't give up. Yep. We've been here before. 2 seasons in a row, Gary, we started out really good, and then it got in the kid's head. And there's nothing like 6th graders and 5th graders when they get confidence. Yeah. They see another team that's all little and we're bigger than them. We go up by 15 and then we want to just not run the plays and do our thing. And then all of a sudden we lose by 6. Yep. 2 seasons in a row, right? The last week of the regular season, I have what's called the GO heart to heart. I do this in business. In the last quarters of our business, I will sit down with the team. We have a heart to heart, whether we're on pace to hit our numbers or whether we're not. Let's identify some issues and let's be real with ourselves. And I had this conversation, and this goes into the final point. Good question. So it goes into the final point we're going to have here is the power of belief, right? The power of belief, thinking about Loyola's Chicago and, the power of the belief of that old lady that really believed in the team. We lost our confidence, but we never stopped preparing. And each season ended with us making a run to the championship beating the teams that beat us by 20, 30, they were actually better than us.
Yeah.
That we didn't, in all honesty, especially this last run, I didn't think that, like, I was happy with they played the right way.
Yep.
And because they played the right way, they came back. I missed the game. I was traveling, and I get a message, hey, we're down by 17. I get a message, we're up by 4, 37 seconds. And I said, what happened? I get all these videos suddenly. I've never seen those kids cheering for each other more than ever. But at the end of the practice, before that last regular season game, I said, hey, I'm not going to be here, but Coach Isaac is going to take over. Everything stays the same. The system is a system. The defense is a defense. It's all here.
Yeah.
That you don't give up on yourself. You can't give up on your brother next to you. Yeah. Right? And you don't give up on Hoop Streams, who we're representing. And if you do that, then I'm happy. Win or loss. If you don't give up and you give your best when I need it the most. Urban Meyer always said that at Florida and Ohio State, when I need you the most, give me your best. Yeah. And so we brought that mentality of the power of belief, and they went on to win the championship. I was able to make it back for the championship game, of course, and to see the excitement of these kids getting these big old fat huge rings, man, it was awesome. Beautiful. But let's talk about a little bit in closing this up and wrapping this up, Gary, the power of belief, because when nobody else believes in you, right, you still have to believe in yourself. And if there's one thing as a leader that I can do, if there's one thing that I can help people champion beyond their purpose in life, is just believe, because the battle always starts here. Yep. You win or lose here. Talent can be great, but if you mentally are not there, it's not good for you. But if you can believe, or you have somebody that believes in you, it gives you that extra motivation. Your Thornton story, right? Yeah. David Thornton coming up to you, believing in you because he see what you done what nobody else has saw. Right. And he knew that if you did everything, then it'll come to life. Talk a little bit about that power of belief. I love
this poem. Hopefully I can find it real quick. But essentially it says, like, sooner or later the battle doesn't go to a faster or stronger man. Sooner or later the battle belongs to the man who thinks he can. And I like that. And it's a quote, and it just talks about, being in the battle. And a lot of times you're facing talent, right? And there's these quotes that, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Yeah. But I go a step further than that. Belief wins when someone is like not 1,000% sure, not 100% sure. Sometimes it's that the belief seems like psychotic. How do you think you can win? How do you think you can accomplish that goal? Yep. And then just the thing you said, believe in the impossible. And when you train and when you prepare yourself, don't limit what's possible. Yep. So for me, I just had the belief like, I'm here. I'm ready to have the best game of my career. Every single game. Well, you just had a huge game. How can you do that? Because I'm prepared. Because I'm ready. And if opportunity presents themselves, I'm ready to seize them. And I think that put me in a position. Sometimes I can remember my family, they would come to games and it got to like year 4 or 5. And it just got to a point where I was just on fire. Yeah. In one game, 18 tackles, a sack, a pick. And they're looking at me like, is this my brother? Yeah. Like, who is this dude out here wrecking shop? And it was my belief. I believed I belonged to play on the field with those guys. It was no longer, I'm a free agent, I'm undrafted, I'm undersized. It was, I belong on this field. I'm the best player out here. It's good. And that carried me to having like a great career and being one of those guys.
It's beyond talent. It's the belief. Yeah. It's the culture. It's the sense of having purpose. It's the psychological safety. It's the belonging. It's the engagement that you have within your team. Mm-hmm. All those things matter the most. Like having leadership really installing that meaning and purpose for their teams that gives them that extra measure, installing the impact of the power of this mission, right? What is your mission? What's your company's mission? And why does it matter to George? Why does it matter to Sarah? Why does it matter to the people that are on the team, right? And then how do we create that belief in ourselves? Because the belief in that Loyola Chicago team, being 11th seed, first round, it's like, okay, that's a cool upset. But to be able to continue that, what happens is that when you stir that belief in yourself, all of a sudden other people start believing in themselves. Doubt. When I see Gary doing things that the other people may have doubted, or I see Gary doing things that I've seen him prepare for, right? Yeah. And opportunities and doors are opening up, it starts saying, man, I believed in him. He's doing it. And it gives me that belief of something that I've been doubting myself. That says, man, if Gary's doing this and there was some struggle there, maybe all things are possible if you prepare for those things. And so that's the power. Any last words, Gary, as we wrap this up?
No, I just think, like you said it, man, obviously it's March Madness, and we kind of expect this, but I just think going along that same thought line of belief, like you should expect March Madness like every month in your business. You should expect something special to happen. You should prepare, like, you know what I'm saying? Like you're on something, like that something special is going to happen. And I think when you do that, not only eventually it does happen, but it happens more consistently.
It's here. And so, what I would finish with is very simple. Are you willing to take the shot? When everybody else puts on paper what they believe is predictable, when everybody else puts on paper what they believe is going to happen, when the script is written for your life, your leadership, or your journey in business and entrepreneur, whatever it may be, wherever you are in your life, it's written. The script is written. The thought and the expectation is set. When the unexpected happens, are you still willing to take the shot? And that's what I want to encourage you, is that no matter what, when the opportunity comes, be prepared, put in the work, create that positive culture, have that positive mentality that even if you miss the shot, you're still going to take the next one. Even if you're in a slump, you're going to wake up, fight, and give it one more day, give it one more opportunity, because when you champion your mindset, you champion your purpose. George Rogers, Gary Brackett, until next time, we want to thank you for supporting us. If you like this podcast, this episode, please share it, like it, comment, expand the network. We appreciate you. Tag us. We'll love to have a conversation with you. Until next time, let's go.
That's good.